going for a little night drive. It's almost 10 p.m. It is winter here in New Zealand right now, and it's about 5 degrees at the moment outside. I'm on my way into town to pick my child up from work. So you can come for the ride with me if you want. It's been raining a little bit, but there's no wind, and over the last month or so they've been moving wind turbine blades to go to the big wind farms, and they do it at night to avoid all the traffic on the highway. So I've been running into those regularly, just about every night when the weather is good. And I found them last night, and so we may run into them again tonight on the highway. So if you see pink flashing lights up ahead, the wind blade won't be far behind. So if that happens, I'll be pulling over until they go past, because these blades are really big and very expensive. So we'll see what we see on the highway. There shouldn't be too much traffic. Most people are in bed. The little town that we're going through now, where I live, it's a village more than a town. Population's not that big. We've got about 3,500 people. All of the shops close at 8 o'clock, so there's no one around to do any shopping. So it's really just people going home. The ones that work late or have been out visiting friends, I suppose. But I'd say most people are inside, staying warm, getting ready for bed. So I have to say, I do like driving at this time of night when there's not many people around. Normally, if I wasn't talking to you guys, I'd have the radio cranked up. But the last time I did a video with music on it, I got a strike from YouTube. Not a strike, but they wouldn't let me play it because of the copyright on the music. So I figured it's easier just to switch it off. I have to go through all the bother of that. Get through the cone farm, they're calling it out here. There's cones everywhere. They're redesigning the road because this intersection has had a few accidents lately. So we have to put up with all these cones, I think, for a few weeks or a month or so, just while they watch the traffic flow and decide what they're going to do. Only farms because we're quite rural, so they don't have street lighting because this is a highway. It's dark, and I just hope and pray while I'm driving that no wildlife runs out in front of me. It has happened occasionally, but I've not had it too often. Hopefully they're all tucked up in their warm little, I don't know what they live in, bushes or hidey holes or dens or wherever they sleep when it's cold. Excuse the rambling. Overcast. I can't see the moon. There's too much cloud over here. We've had some storms in the last few days. Parts of the country, they've had snow in the South Island, and parts of the North Island, where I am, they've had some snowfall. I can see some pink flashing lights up ahead, and I have a feeling that we're going to find our wind turbines in a minute because I can see the pilot vehicle there further along than they normally are. I Don't normally run into them as far out. So you might be able to see it as it comes past. I'm going to get up there though, where I can pull over. Because there's not a lot of space to pull over on the highway. Torches out and I'll flash them at me to say pull over, slow down, give way. Okay. I'm just going to concentrate for a minute here while I figure out how far up they are and where I can pull over. Just going to slow down and I'm going to pull over somewhere up here. There you go, you've got space to pull over here. We'll just sit here and wait. Not a problem. Yeah, no, that's all good. Every night I'm coming down here, yeah. I'm getting used to it. I'm sure you are.
Have a good night.
You too. Okay, so we are just going to sit here and wait. I don't know if you're going to be able to see an awful lot, and I just hope nobody comes flying up behind me and hits me. I'm pulled over to the side here on the shoulder. So here comes pilot vehicle number 2, and then the third one's way up there in front of the blade, and then there'll be one behind it. And even though it's a 2-lane highway and it looks like there's plenty of space, the truck comes sort of down the centre of the highway, and the tail of the blade does wander around quite a bit, so just give it room to get past. I'm not sure of the value of these things, but I know it's in the millions. And this is just one blade for the wind turbine. There's a car coming up behind me. It's like, just pull over and be patient. So there's our truck. Oh, the blade's wobbling quite a bit there. Don't know how well you can see that going past. Okay, we're all done. Right, we can pull out. There we go. I don't know how much of that you can see, but that's what I keep running into most nights when it's fine and clear out here. I believe they were moving about 99 of them, so that's 3 months worth of, if they do them every night, if they do one a night, which is all they do, it's 3 months worth, and it depends on weather, so it should be hopefully almost at the end of meeting them. Single lanes, one going one way, one going the other. There's no barriers between us. This is like what most of the highways in New Zealand are like. So it certainly gets highways are separated, or your interstates especially, like in America. So you're facing oncoming traffic quite often. Not often, but occasionally people just don't dip the headlights and you get blinded. So it's a learning curve. Learning to drive without being blinded by oncoming traffic. And that's when you put a lot of your faith in God, you know, that you're going to be delivered safely to your destination without anyone coming across into your traffic. So we thank Him daily for delivering us safely whenever I arrive home. So here we are, nearly in town. See the lights of the town again. So that's just a quick 15 to 20 minute hop between where I live and the main town, Palmerston North here. It's not a big city by any means, and I certainly love living out here because I came from Auckland City, which is a population of a few million, and you'd leave for work in the morning when I lived there. I grew up there. You'd leave for work in the morning, say you started at 8:30 in the morning, you'd have to leave home if you were driving in at about 7 o'clock, 7 a.m. Even though I live 15 minutes from the city, because of the traffic on the motorways, everybody trying to get to work. If you left at 7, you'd be guaranteed to be at work by 8:30 if you were lucky. If there was an accident on the motorway, you'd be delayed for a couple of hours sometimes, and then you turn around and you try to leave work at 5 to come home, and you're lucky if you got home by 6:30. So I don't miss it when I leave for work here in the mornings. I drive from where I've just driven to here, because I work in town here in Palmerston North, and I start, depending on whatever time I start, some days it's 8 o'clock, sometimes it's 9. It's supposed to be 9, but at the moment I'm starting at 8 a.m, 7:38. I know that I can leave 20 minutes before I'm due to be at work, and I get there on time because the highway is pretty much like it was now, maybe an extra 10 cars on it. Even in rush hour, you just don't get the traffic. It gets a little busy along here maybe, but you're certainly not held up for more than 5 or 10 minutes at the traffic lights. So there is a lot to be said about living outside of the big cities. So I certainly do enjoy this one, not having to sit in that rush hour traffic any longer. And life is just so much slower out here, you know. I certainly don't miss anything about being in a big city. We have just the same amount of shops, we have the same amount of supermarkets and banks and McDonald's and KFC's and Pizza Hut and Subway, and restaurants. There's nothing that we're missing. We have the theatres. We're still fairly close to the coast. I mean, in Auckland, I lived near, quite well, where I lived in Auckland, we were very close to the water. I could walk to the waterfront, 15 minute walk from home, because Auckland is on a peninsula. Where I lived was a peninsula, so we were surrounded by the beach. But here, they're doing something here. Can't turn where I normally want to turn. out here in Palmerston North, if we want to go to the nearest beach, it's a 30-minute drive to get there, because we're more inland here than we are, which is good. You know, we're a lot more protected from the storms here than what the rest of the country get, because we are inland. And it certainly, I don't think it gets as cold here as it does in Auckland, because it was surrounded by the sea and the ocean, so you get the wind chill off the ocean coming in. Although the North Island, the top where Auckland is further north, and again that's odd to you if you come from America or that part of the world, because for us north is warmer, south is colder here. So the South Island is the colder part because it's closer to Antarctica. The North Island is the warmer part of New Zealand. So I've moved south from where I grew up. But saying that, I still think it is actually warmer here in Palmerston North than it is in Auckland. Simply because Auckland gets that extra wind chill off the ocean because it's so surrounded by, obviously, all the ocean there. And we're a little bit more protected by the mountain ranges out here where we are. So this is the heart of Palmerston North, that big thing with the green light, that's the clock tower. It changes colour all the time. It cycles through green and pink and blue and other colours. I don't think it's going to change while I'm sitting here though, so you're not going to see it. So it's all pretty, all lit up. Not that there's many people around, but getting all the green lights, which is always a good thing. I hope you enjoyed that little ramble and the little journey that I was on with you. I have arrived at my destination, so I will say good night. And I don't know if you learned anything or if you enjoyed it, but thank you for travelling with me.